What's happening YouTube? Today I'm going to be reviewing the Fuji 18 to 55mm kit lens. If you're here for a super technical review, just want to let you know this won't be the place for it. I'm going to talk a little bit about the specs of the camera, but mostly about how I've found it to be in practical everyday use. And as always, I'll throw up a bunch of pictures that I've taken with this camera over the past year so that you've got something to look at while I'm talking about it. And a quick note for anybody that watched my 35mm f2 review, I included like 3 or 4 images that I actually took with this lens by accident. Nothing that should have changed anybody's opinion on which lens to buy, but I just thought I would tell you because you're going to see an image the same as what's in the other video. Alright, let's crack on. One of the reasons that I wanted to get a Fuji camera was because it was smaller, and the kit lens is nice and small as well. It balances quite nicely on the camera and doesn't really get in the way when you're carrying it around. It's a nice size. In terms of weight, the lens is 11 ounces, which is I think about 300 grams. It's a little bit lighter than the 56 1.2, a little bit heavier than the 35 f2. Doesn't feel it, it's a light lens. It's small, it's light. One of the reasons that I wanted to buy it. You would have no issues carrying this around all day, whether you're hiking, walking around the city, doing whatever. Put it on a strap, throw it over your shoulder. It really doesn't affect you at all. Build quality wise, it's very nice build quality as well. The focus ring is nice and smooth. It feels like good quality and it's not too big so you don't really accidentally hit it. The zoom ring is a good size as well. It's a little bit bigger so your hand rests quite easily on it. The aperture ring is a nice size as well. It's not too thick, not too thin. It clicks quite confidently. I do sometimes knock it without meaning to, but I think that's just how it is when you have some sort of command ring in this spot where your fingers rest. But generally I like having the aperture ring here because I find it comfortable and just an intuitive place to have it. It's quite a premium feeling lens. The materials feel nice. It's either metal or hard plastic. It feels like good quality. It doesn't feel like cheap garbage. It does have a slight noise if you shake it, but that's because of the image stabilization. So yeah, it feels solid. In terms of sharpness, this lens is a lot sharper than most kit lenses I've used. It's made to be a higher quality premium kit lens, so I would expect it to be better than most kit lenses you might buy. I've recently noticed it can be a little bit soft around the edges, but still doesn't make it a bad performer. It does, however, get kind of sketchy after f11. I'd been shooting some landscapes and stuff recently and I could not figure out why everything looked terrible, where there'd be one portion in the center that would be super sharp, but all the stuff around it looked like complete trash. And I think that was because I was shooting at apertures higher than f11. I think it's diffraction that kicks in once you get to smaller apertures, and that's where I started to get problems with this lens. But overall, from wide open to about f8, I've been really happy with the results. It may also be that I've gave this lens one too many knocks and my results are starting to get a bit inconsistent. But overall, I would still shoot it at a narrower aperture than f11 if I needed to, because I would rather get a soft looking picture than no picture at all. In low light, it's definitely not the best lens, but with a f2.8 aperture, again, it's better than what you'd expect from most kit lenses. It also has image stabilization, so for handheld shots in low light, it makes it that little bit better, but that doesn't help much if your subject's moving. For bokeh, you'll definitely get a little bit in the background, but you're not going to get those super blurry backgrounds that everybody wants to get nowadays. To maximize the effect, you have to get as close as you can to the subject and focus on that while having your background as far away as possible. For example, this photo here is probably about as blurry a background as you'll get. It has about 5 stops of image stabilization, which seems to work well for me. I have handheld landscape shots at 1/4 of a second with the widest focal length. I would imagine not the best on the market, but it's not bad at all. The focusing speed, it's pretty good in good light conditions with contrast. Once you get low light or low contrast scenes, it can start to hunt a little bit. But for the vast majority of the way people will use this, it'll be absolutely fine. I don't think anybody is going to be trying to shoot a wedding with this, and that's where they might come up with problems because the low light situation's there. But yeah, for everything I've used it for, it's been totally fine. Focusing distance is listed at 0.6 meters, which is almost 2 feet. I'm pretty sure I've focused closer than that before, but 2 feet is enough focus distance for most purposes, unless you're trying to shoot macro. So the cost or the value of this lens. This lens has the best value when it comes in a kit with the camera. As of right now, it adds about $400 to the cost of a new X-T3. And if you buy the lens alone, it costs about $700. So it's a much better value when you buy it with the kit. I personally would not buy it for $700 alone. You can get it on the used market for about $400 as well, and that makes it a bit more worth it. But while it is more expensive than most kit lenses out there, it's also considered to be better quality, which accounts for that sort of higher price tag. This is probably one of the most versatile lenses that you can have for any non-professional use. It'll do a little bit of everything, averagely well, if not a little bit above average. It'll shoot nice portraits, you can get good wide landscapes, and anything else in between. If you want just one lens in your kit and you don't shoot a lot in low light without flash, this may well be the perfect lens for you. And while it hasn't been my favorite lens to use, I know that any good photographer will be able to get excellent results with this lens. So who's this lens for? I think anybody who's making money as a photographer probably would not be using this lens. While I think it could produce professional looking results, there are lots of lenses out there that will do specific jobs a lot better than the 18 to 55. But if you're a hobbyist that doesn't like prime lenses, carrying multiple lenses, having large heavy lenses, and wants to shoot a wide range of subjects, definitely consider the 18 to 55. If you shoot a lot of travel and Instagram stuff, this is probably a great lens to have. Again, it won't give you that blurry background that a lot of people want, but when it's travel stuff and for Instagram, usually you're in a cool place, so you want to show off the background, and it's good to have a lens that has more of a focal range than your phone and probably has better resolution as well. There are always trade-offs with whatever lens you're choosing, and you could choose to buy the 16 to 55 f2.8. For that, you'll get a lens that's better in low light most of the time, has a little bit wider focal length on the wide end. It also has weather sealing, but it's also bigger, heavier, and more expensive, and that might not be an option for a lot of people, so the smaller 18 to 55 does the job. There's also a newer lens, which is a 16 to 80mm f4. If I was going back to pick between these lenses again, I would probably have went with the 16 to 80mm f4. I have lenses that shoot wide open, and I would probably rather use them during low light, and the 16 to 80mm f4 is perfect for landscapes and hiking and travel and all that sort of stuff. That being said, I'm not getting rid of this lens to buy any of those other lenses, and I can't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon. While it's not my favorite lens to use, it's got an important place in my camera bag, and I always take it on trips. And even though I have my complaints about it, I have shot a lot of my favorite photos this year with it. Some were in LA shooting some street photography, in Philly shooting street photography. I shot portraits with it that I really liked when we were hiking. I've shot some landscapes with it, handheld at 1/4 of a second. So overall, it's a pretty great little lens. Hopefully this video helped you to make a decision. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.